You're a professional student. Now, we just concluded the valuation of common stock using the absolute method and relative valuation method. Now, let's look at the residual income valuation model. When we are talking of residual valuation model, what is residual income itself before we think of how we can value it? Residual income is the amount of earning left over after paying for the opportunity cost of equity capital, which referred to as what? Equity charge. What is opportunity cost? Now, when I'm talking about opportunity cost, these are the things you forego for you to be able to undertake certain activities. So, the thing you forego, the cost incurring such things, or the income that's supposed to come from things you forego before you take up another activities, is what we know as opportunity cost. So, our residual income is the amount of earning left over after paying for the opportunity cost of equity, which we know as equity charge. Shareholder needs to be compensated for the risk their capital is to be taken on, and the residual income is what is left over after taking this rate into account. And how is it calculated? As you can see on the screen, it is what? It is net income minus equity charges. So that is what we mean by net income. And what is equity charge on itself? Equity charge. When we are talking of equity charge, remember I said the opportunity cost is what we refer to as equity charge. So the opportunity cost of equity represented in monetary terms can be referred to as equity charge. So equity charge can be thought of as being similar to the interest expense, which is charged, which is what is charged on the amount of debt outstanding based on the cost of capital, or cost of debt capital rather. But instead, equity charge is related to equity capital. The book value of the equity capital, and it is based on the amount of equity capital in the business and the cost of equity. And it is calculated by what? Equity capital multiplied by cost of equity. That is equity capital multiplied by cost of equity. That is what we know as equity charge. Let's look at this example. We use Coke as an example. We want to start our valuation with Coke by first calculating the residual income on per share level. There is certain financial information of Coke in 2019, and in this information we have diluted earning per share of $2.07, and book value per share is what? Is 4.89, and the cost of equity is 5.5% as calculated for the financial model template. Now, as we said that equity charge or residual equity is the net income minus equity charge. So our net income is given in the question, which is $2.07, and our book value is also what? Given, and we have cost of capital. So by the time we remove the cost of capital and equity, by the time we remove the multiple of book value and cost of equity from net income, the rest is residual income. Remember, we have 4.48 as book value multiplied by 5.5%, which is 0.055. So what we have is 2.07 minus $0.25. So the balance is $1.82. These are our residual income. As you can see the work example on your screen. Now, when we are talking of residual valuation or valuation with residual income, now that we have laid out an understanding of residual income and equity charge, we can start to look at how company valuation with these figures works. Residual income valuation can be done in a multiple period format and with different residual income calculated for each year. It could also be done in a single stage valuation and a multiple period valuation with a persistent factor applied to the continuing residual income. All the residual income valuation, please note this, all the residual income valuation start with the current book value. Start with what? Current book value. And then add the present value of the multiple record of the residual income. Add what? The present value. I said you had the present value of multiple period of residual income. So the higher the return on equity is compared to the cost of equity, the more the significant the present value of residual income will be in the valuation. Let me come again. What I said simply was that if you want to calculate the residual income, I want to use to value equity or income, you will start at the current book value and then you have the present value of multiple periods of residual income. The higher the return on equity is, or the higher the return on equity is compared to the cost of capital, the more the significant the present value of residual income would be in the valuation. In practice case, let's look at the multiple period residual income valuation. When we are talking of multiple income residual valuation, as we said, it is what you add to the book value. For multi-period residual income valuation, starting with the book value of equity, so the residual income of each year is calculated and then present valued using the cost of equity. The formula you can see on the screen is for 2 years and it could be for more than 2 years if you so wish. So the valuation is that the book value plus residual income for the first year all over cost of equity for the first year plus residual value of second year all over cost of equity for the second year. You know, the residual value here is in the position of either the dividend if you are using multi-period dividend model where we have dividend for first year over R, that's equal to P for first year plus the rest. So here, instead of dividend, it is residual income over cost of equity for the first period. So residual income for the second period also all over 1 plus cost of equity into second year up to the last period as you wish to add. That's on that. And if we have, and don't forget that we said that the book value is what that starts with it. Book value plus the residual income of each period you add to it. If it is a single period valuation income, for single period, the valuation starts with the book value and then you add the present value of residual income through one terminal value calculation. And the formula is the remnants of dividend Gordon model, as I said earlier, or growth Gordon model. But instead of dividend, the formula is looking at residual income. So residual income is established by the formula we said earlier, that is equity less than cost of equity capital, then multiplied by the book value. You can see the formula, that is book value plus return on equity minus cost of equity multiplied by book value all over cost of equity minus growth. Now you can try to modify the formula by saying that return on capital minus R, which is cost of equity, multiplied by book value all over cost of equity minus growth is equal to book value. That is for single period valuation. There's something you need to note. If the return on equity equal to the cost of equity capital, then residual income is 0 and valuation is equal to book value. Note that, please. Let me come again. I said if return on equity, which is KE, equal the cost of equity. Understand? If the return is equal to cost of equity, return on equity is equal to cost of equity. If ROE is equal to cost of equity, it means that this will be 0. So 0 times this one also is 0. It means that the residual income will be what? It will be only book value. That is on that. Let's take an illustration to better drive home our point here. We use example with Coke. Now, continuing with our example with Coke, we conduct the valuation using a single stage model period using this formula, and also we input, in addition to the input used in the first example, we use Coke 10 years average return on capital of what? Of 10.7% and 3% growth. Take growth rates to reflect the Coke growing alongside the global GP or GDP. As you can see here, the valuation is giving us around 49.64 per share. How does it go? Remember, return on equity is 30.7% and cost of equity is 5.5 in the formula in the question we just treated in the beginning. Multiply by book value. No, the book value does not change. So after everything, we have this side to be 45.16 and our book value is what? Is 4.48. The addition of everything says that the value of Coke is 49.64. And we are talking of continuing value with the persistence factor. Continuing value with persistence factor as one of those things we say one should look at. The persistence factor ranges between 0 and 1, and with 1 represents a business with perfect economic modes that will persist into the future. So persistence factor can be estimated taking into account the competitive force in the industry. The addition of the persistence factor is the residual income valuation equivalent to the dividend DDM model, and it adjusts from a high return period to a low return period. Now we have multi-period valuation. This multi-period valuation, the residual income for first year all over 1 plus equity and so on and so forth, plus residual income for the terminal value all over 1 plus equity minus persistent value. So this is new continuing terminal value, as you can see. This is how it is what? It is calculated. You have to, it will be book value, that is when you add the persistence value to it. It is the book value for year 0 plus residual income for first year up to the number of years you want plus the terminal value. Remember under this dividend Gordon, or let me say under absolute, when you want to use the multi-period, what we usually do is that we say dividend for first year plus 1 plus R plus second year plus 1 plus r raised to power 2 up to dividend for n here all over 1 plus r raised to power n plus terminal value all over 1 plus r raised to power n. The only difference here is that the last cost of equity in the terminal value that you use in discounting terminal value, you will remove the persistence factor from it. That is just the difference here and the one you had known. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I said the one in the terminal value, this rate in the terminal value, it is where you will remove the persistence factor, and that's only the difference between the usual formula we know and the residual formula using persistence factor. 1 plus r minus persistence factor over minus persistence factor. So you don't need to raise it to anything. That's another thing you have to note. You not raise it to anything. The formula did not show any raised to power. Understand? But the order will be raised to power up to the last year. So when you get to the terminal value, plus 1 all over 1 plus r minus persistence factor, that is all. You will not raise it to any power. Because the little difference is what you need to note so that you don't make a costly mistake in exam. Some people will not understand this. They will just work and say that they have dusted the CIS or they finish everything perfectly. They are expecting very good grade, and at the end of the day, they will see what they didn't bargain for. It's because of the little differences that they fail to take care of. So that is on that. Now, what is the thing you can say as takeaway on residual income? What are the things we can say we understand through this residual income? We see that residual income methods are a great way to value business, all focus on book value, return on equity, and cost of equity. Those are the three things: book value, return on equity, and cost of what? Equity. And being able to adjust the valuation for a business economic mode through the persistence factor as powerful tools. Remember that if the return on equity cost is equal to the return on if the cost of equity is equal to the return of equity, the residual value is 0 and the valuation will be equal to what? Equal to book value. Remember I said that. So residual income method is also one of the 6 evaluation metrics we use in taking care of value of the cost. So that is that on the residual valuation method. Thanks for listening. If you have anything, please don't hesitate to reach us. We are there to satisfy your yearnings.